Zeuda is marching for the Gold Hills, and it could mean the end of the war, or the start of a new one. Yárro had just come from a massive civil war. They finally had peace, unstable as it was. They were finally able to turn their eyes from violence back to growing their kingdom. In the months following the peace, they found gold. But rumors spread quickly across their borders, and soon countries had their eyes on the Yárroan gold hills. Zeuda wanted that gold. If they had it, they could end their own civil war and rule South Aetos. But what actually is Yárro? In Delanin, those of impure blood were hated and seen as a lesser species. They were the half-elves, offspring of human and elf. In Gendron, half-breeds were despised, weak, and detestable. They were the half-orcs, offspring of human and orc. Both were hated for what they could not control. They were cast out, shunned by society. Some found homes in Shahar and Tealar, but many were left to scrounge for scraps of life in the wildernesses of their respective home countries. Desperate, many left mainland Aetos. Many perished, many disappeared. But slowly, over many decades, a colony of half-breeds began to grow on the shores of South Aetos. They called their lands Yárro, and word spread quietly of a safe haven for those hated and shunned. Yárro grew slowly and struggled much, but they were free and welcome. Communal struggle eventually turned into outright unhappiness. Factions bickered amongst themselves, meetings turned south, crops failed. Violence was soon to follow. Civil unrest broke out, tearing apart once strong relationships, dividing the nation into not just two. War ravaged the small, young country for many a year, till one faction set to putting a stop to it. They had no name, but many, hoping for peace, called them the Children of Yárro. The children gained swift popularity among the laymen and wealthy alike. Most of the children had originally come from rich military houses in their homelands and had learned a thing or two before leaving for Yárro. This enabled them to take over the other factions quickly and easily. Soon, the main powers in Yárro had surrendered to the children. The children set into place their new system of government. The sun, the moon, arose as one. Yárroan culture had a special hatred for the elves and orcs. No one liked to acknowledge those races. They did not see themselves as elvish or orcish. They saw themselves as Ulumok, the sun, and Oradri, the moon. The sun represented the orcs, and the moon represented the elves. The ideals of sun and moon filtered into politics. Much of the infighting had come from the differences between elves and orcs, and one felt they had no representation, which led to the war. The children instilled the sun and moon as rulers of Yárro. The Ulumok controlled the military. The Doradri controlled the law. Together they were one, and together they depended on each other. Together they ruled Yárro, both making decisions for law and military. Then came the smaller factions within the sun and the moon. They split the land up according to each of the factions and instilled the Ulumachi and the Dosrarchi, the little sun and little moon. These lords ruled their province together and answered to the Ulumok and Oradri. Peace and unity had once again come to Yárro. South of the border, civil war was still raging. Rensos the Uniter led his soldiers under the red banner and took over the surrounding states. Maeraxon was answering to his attacks, but Rensos was slowing them and rerouting his soldiers. He turned his sights to Yárro. Under the diarchy, gold was found in the hills near the borders, and rumors spread like wildfire. Zeuda said that the new Yárroan leadership was crowned with gold, their cities lined by marble and their roofs made of gold. Rensos wanted gold. Rensos would have the gold. The Zeudans were now marching for Yárro. Deep in the forest of Maeraxon, the Laurels walked under dark boughs and green foliage. The large, lumbering shapes of the Orots led them along a pathless journey to the capital of New Laurel. The city was vast, grown out of and in the trees. Some Orots stood seemingly asleep, some sung long, ancient, woody songs as they drank deeply from the streams running through the trees. Others walked hastily to and fro, their limbs shaped like spears, swords, and shields. Many of the Laurels were left to gaze upon the city, while some, the leaders of the traveling party, were taken to see the leaders of the city. Their guide brought them into a long hall grown right through 4 trees, a long, winding staircase grown up out of the ground, out of tall, slender trees, reaching up into the hall that sat among the boughs. The only roof of the hall was the great forest canopy, and now the individual leaves of the ancient stern boughs could be seen. A great circle of ancient-faced Orots stood in the middle of the hall on a carpet of leaves and flowers. Some were hunched. Hundreds of years shone in their cracked bark. Some were tall and wide, their youth visible in their vibrant eyes. The Laurels and their guide came quietly up to the circle, and an opening was made for them. Here comes the fun part, guys. I'm going to stumble over my names. Hail Udrith. That doesn't look right. Hail Udrith Umashperix Ranksooth. I wrote these like 30 minutes ago, and I forgot the pronunciation. So, go ahead and make fun of me for that. Udrith Umashperix Ranksooth. There we go. I'm not even gonna try and spell that for you guys. Hail Udrith Umashperix Ranksooth, said one of the eldest elders, his voice low, creaky, and soft like a breeze through the canopy. Who are these little people you bring with you from your patrol? Surely they aren't the ancient ones from afar in the north. Hail, Elder Maelvrith Vaxalithi or Moroway. And surely they are, answered their guide. They are Laurels from the Northlands. They love peace and hate war, and have come seeking sanctuary. A long came from deep within Maelther's chest. Sanctuary shall be given to them. Long live those wiser and older than us. The ancient Orot bowed low, as did all the 24 or so other Orots in the circle. Many thanks we give to you and your people. Many thanks we give to you and your people, Elder Maelther Vaxalithi Omorowe. Aromoe. I want you all to know that these names are supposed to be hard to pronounce, and they use a lot of Welsh sounds. If you know anything about Welsh, yeah, I'm just going to leave it there if you know anything about Welsh. May our halls be graced by the blessings of Amos himself, and may the trees of Maeraxon grow tall and for many years. Another long came from the elder. Maybe those more ancient and wiser than us could offer their guidance in this venture that we adventure without sight. We will not tarry long here, but I ask this with all humility and honor that is within my many-eared limbs." One of the other Laurels stepped forward. "In return for your welcome, we gladly offer what aid we may." Maelther hummed. "Our southern neighbors have grown hateful to all that grows and is peaceful. They have set fire to our southern groves and are putting the axe to the foot of our precious forest home. And now we see their numbers set northeast to our neighbors the Yarroans." He shook his head slowly. "The poor Yarroans just came from a lengthy civil war and are healing, and the Zeudans are going to war with them, and for what?" He shook his head again. "I do not know, nor do we know what to do with these angry Zeudans." "The Zeudans are your neighbors to the south. What are they?" Maelther nodded slowly. "They are humans who do not know the kindly ways of Amos, nor do they know much, though they like to pretend." "Humans?" Maelther sighed. "Yes, we do not know how they got there, but when they did, they grew like seedlings in a fertile, empty field." The Laurel nodded. "The Yarroans, what are they? Are they your friends?" "Nay, but we protect them when we may. They are half-elves and half-orcs, outcasts of Delanine and the cursed lands of the orcs. Poor creatures, to be despised by those of your own blood." "You say the Zeudans are now attacking Yárro?" Maelther nodded again. "On their way to claim what riches the Yarroans have claim to. Weak and wounded as they are, they have just had a civil war, you know. They are weak from it, and many past hurts are trying to heal." "Why don't you go to aid the Yarroans? Befriend your neighbors?" Maelther stood straight. "Nay, we cannot do that. We have not befriended anyone outside of our bounds of our forest for many a year." "Why don't you now?" Maelther chuckled. He was deep and shook the ears of the Laurels. "Are the peace-seeking Laurels suggesting we go to war?" The Laurel cast his eyes downwards as a sigh. "No, but we must defend the helpless." He was now seeing why the defenders of Immaturita wished to stay and fight off the Dromani. "I do not wish you to war, but if you could defend those who need it and end the war with an ally, you could help bring peace to the world." Maelther watched each of the Laurels carefully. Friends from outside pleases my ears, but my heart, but not my mind. We have not had friends for many a year, but to allow the forest and the people of the field to live in peace, we best stand together in the tight bonds of friendship to overcome the darkness of war." Maelther stood straight, to his full height, towering over the other Orots. He was a great, mighty warrior at one point. "Ready the sentinels," he boomed. "We Orots will rise to the aid of the Yarroans, befriend ourselves to them, and end the evil of war, for peace and lives long lived." The Yarroan objective was simple: eliminate all of the invading Zeudans. The Zeudans, on the other hand, had to take control of the gold mines. The battle started with the Zeudans coming in swiftly, wiping over the hills towards the Maeraxi and Yarroan forces. The Maeraxi had come to aid the Yarroans the best that they could, and they brought with them their massive sentinels. The sentinels are giant tree people. They stand at 2 to 3 times the height of a regular human being. So they were the tanks of the Yárro front. The Maeraxi Sentinel was played by Little Litten on my Twitch channel, and we also had a Zeudan NPC played by Rose God Hat, also on my Twitch channel, which if you do want to watch these live streams, check out the Twitch in the link in the description. I do also stream here on YouTube, but the best place to view my streams are on Twitch. Now, these two forces colliding were very interesting. The Zeudans were fast and efficient. They had some range. They had spears, they had crossbows, and most importantly, they were fast, which the Yárroans didn't fully have. The Sentinel is slow. He only has a movement speed of 1, and if you know how to play, 1 movement speed is pretty slow. So compared to these other movement speeds of 3, his only point was to be a tank. He had 15 hit points compared to, I think, maybe 8 hit points at the max for one of the other players. On the Yárroan side, for actual players, we had Rojam. He was a warrior armed with a Knabo. If you don't know what a Knabo is, this is what a Knabo is. It's pretty nasty, but despite it being nasty, Rojam was one of the first to fall. Now, on the Zeudan side, we had Koni, an albino man armed with a crossbow. Rojam, like I said, was the first to fall, but he fell after taking Koni out with it. So by the time that Rojam and Koni had fallen, the 2 NPCs were left standing, the Sentinel and the Zeudan NPC. The Sentinel was extremely slow. So slow that he moved probably within 2 squares of his original space and didn't leave that kind of vicinity. So the Zeudan NPC was able to sprint through the Yárroan front line and take control of those gold mines. Finally, the Sentinel stood between the last standing Zeudans and the last gold mine. The final battle was on. Rose God Hat had to face off against Little Litten as the Sentinel. The battle that followed was bloody, devastating. Rose God Hat got the first hit. Hit after hit, he hit the Sentinel, and the Sentinel couldn't do much. He reached and clawed for the Zeudan, but couldn't quite get a hold on him. But as Rose God Hat stepped up for the final killing blow on that Sentinel, the Sentinel made a dying attack. He lunged for the Zeudan, and with one final hit, the Zeudan did not die. The game was finished with the Zeudan NPC on 1 or 2 HP, and the Zeudans won. The battle was close. The battle was bloody. But ultimately, the Zeudans won out and claimed the last of the gold mines. Gold has an allure that very few can deny. Zeuda pushed through the strong alliance forces into the Gold Hills, sending the allies back to reconsider. With pickaxes and shovels, the Zeudan forces dig into the hills, uncovering the Yárroan mines. Gold means money, and money means power. Power to fuel Rensos' ambitious war. He now turns his eye to the fortified states of Zeuda, the heart of the nation. If you enjoyed this new style of video, especially with this helmet, despite the poor lighting in here, please give this video a thumbs up or tell me what you think in the comments below. Also, I hope you enjoy this new system of recapping my live stream videos. If you do want to be part of those live streams and control one of the characters every Friday, we do have a live stream. So follow me on Twitch, Instagram, or here on YouTube, and stay updated for this. See y'all next time. Peace.